Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Got a special one for you today. With me is Tobin Ortenblad. Welcome, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so you are a gravel guy. You are doing gravel nationals tomorrow as we speak. You're preparing for that. But last week you did a crit. We're going to talk about that. SF Giro.
Should be good. Yeah, always like to jump in a local crit when I'm home. It was too much fun.
So if you don't know who Tobin is, you must be new to the sport. Congratulations, you've made it to bike racing. Tobin does cyclocross, mountain, gravel, crit, road. He's done everything. He's like the most well-rounded athlete on two wheels, but we're talking about crit footage today. So let's dive right in.
Sweet.
Okay, but first a quick message from the sponsor of this video. That's LMNT Element. You guys know I like this product. This is my go-to hydration mix. This is not to be mistaken with a sports drink. There is no sugars in this. In fact, there's no sugars, there is no gluten, and there are no dodgy ingredients in this product. It is strictly hydration, and what I like about it is the flavor. This is a subjective thing. I've had people say they don't like the flavor. I mix half. You can see I'm mixing half here. Half per bottle is the right mix for me. Your mileage might vary, but it says right on the label, right on the package, exactly what is in this product. The electrolyte balance isn't by mistake. This is scientifically backed mixture of sodium, potassium, magnesium in order to maximize your hydration. And best of all, if you use code NORCAL, that is drinklmnt.com/NorCal, you'll get a free sample pack with any purchase. So I urge you guys to try this out. Now back to the video. And we're racing, dude. When was the last time you did a crit race? That's the first thing I want to ask.
Probably Sand City crit maybe that was like 6-7 weeks ago at this point down in Monterey.
Oh, at least. That was July. I unfortunately missed it. But, so you dip your toe into crit racing every once in a while. And just because you go out and do the big endurance stuff, like you still have the snap in your legs, or is that something that you feel like the training doesn't lend itself to?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's become a bit more challenging than it used to. I feel like my engine is a lot bigger than it used to be, but that those go after go after go are not what they used to be, which is wild. I haven't been specifically training that, and it does go away a little bit. And I'm only 28, but I am getting older, and you do notice those snappy hard accelerations when you get a little bit older do become harder.
Yeah, dude, I'm 37.
Yeah, like
the snappy ones are going away.
You're feeling it.
I'm feeling it. So does that influence the way that you race? Like, tell me your plan coming into this. Giro de San Francisco, I think we mentioned that, right? Giro de San Francisco, P1-2. We'll talk about the course a little bit. But yeah, what was your plan coming in? Does your fitness influence the way that you race?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I feel like I'm generally pretty fit right now. Like, I do want to go to these crits to get that high end, that sharpness, that intensity. So, people are often like, "Oh, why don't you just sit and wait for a sprint?" I'm like, I do know that's generally the smartest thing to do, especially when Mike's Bikes has such a big train. But at the same time, like, I am there to get a workout, and I am there to have some fun. Like, sitting into me is not that much fun. Going off and trying to go for it here and there is. So, yeah, that's kind of the way I race these things.
And your fitness lends itself to that, right? You're saying like the motor's big, the snappiness isn't so big, so that would make sense that you would want to go off into a breakaway, because like you could motor away at 400 something watts in a breakaway all day. That's kind of more of your fitness right now, yeah?
Yeah, it really is. And like, I set my bike up with really, really deep wheels. I have those big reserves. I think they're the 8088s, which are like the time trial wheels. I'd never ridden them. I had them, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna put them on and see how they feel. Thinking that if I could get off the front, I'd have a really fast bike.
Dude, that's a statement. When you put on the super deep wheels, you're like, I will join the breakaway today.
Yeah, like, I'm down. But I forgot how much of a little hill this race does have in it. First lap, I was like, oh, these wheels are not as snappy as I'd really like them to be. So maybe note for next year, don't run the big dogs. But yeah, you got to see how they feel so you know what you have in your quiver.
Right, and I think that's a good segue into our plan, because like you said, there were 9 of us. I think some people said they thought there were like 13 of us, which is always kind of a nice compliment when they think there's more of us than there actually are. But there were 9 of us, which is the full squad, right? It's crazy. Like, that changes the way that you race, because if you come out by yourself or like one other teammate or something like that, you don't really have an obligation to drive the race, to control the pace, to hit the front, to lead things out. You can definitely sit in and you don't have to chase brakes back and that sort of thing. So we knew from the beginning, we were by far the biggest team. There we are in purple. We knew that we were going to have to control the brake, and we came up with a strategy that I think is pretty atypical. we were like, hey, let's let the breakaway get away, and ideally it has Tobin in it, because the short version of our strategy, Tobin, is we are going to try to break Tobin today. That was our strategy, like centered around preventing you from winning, which is hilarious that now I'm having you on to talk about this experience.
Victimized once again.
Do you feel victimized by the purple train? But honestly, it's a compliment though, right? Because like you're the biggest threat to us in this race, and we wanted to make sure that you weren't going to pull a fast one on us. So we thought if he gets away at a break, that is the perfect situation, because you're strong, but you're not 1 versus 9 strong.
No, and I was talking to Keegan about that. I showed up here. I was like, man, I was so frustrated. I really wanted to do well at this race, and I just couldn't get away. And yeah, like, I do think I'm really strong, but I'm like, your team's full of really strong guys too. And like even if I have 5% on somebody, there's still 9 of you guys, and I don't even have 5% on most of your guys. So it's like, it is kind of the riding a break is kind of a hopeless maneuver for me in a race like this, but it doesn't stop me from trying. So maybe that's on me.
Which is why we were so stoked when we saw that you joined the breakaway. Like that was music to our ears when we saw that you were up the road. We're like, this is exactly according to plan, which is, again, like I said, is atypical. Generally, if you're the strongest rider in the race, if you're not the strongest rider in the race, and then you let the strongest rider in the race get away in a breakaway, it's generally very threatening. But because we race really well together as a team, as a unit on Mike's bikes, we're like, Tobin's going to be out there, he's going to be drilling it, and he's going to be getting tired, and then we can just have our sprinters sit in. So we had a very clear approach. Like, I was going to sit back. It was me, Sean, and Ryan. We're all going to sit back and just save energy. And then the other 6 riders on Team Mike's bikes were going to control the breakaway. And we had you at 6 seconds, between 6 and 10 seconds for the entirety of that breakaway. And eventually you just pulled the plug on it, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I mean, I basically, at one point, Chris Reichert, your teammate's on the front. Sean Bennett goes, and I'm like, that's Sean Bennett. Some of these guys don't know who that is, or maybe they don't recognize him. Whatever it is, I know he's strong. He's been in the World Tour. I'm going to try to go with him. This should be a pretty solid little move. And probably a lap or 2 later, I'm just like looking back. I'm like, cool, that's the entire Mike's Bikes team. We've been let out to 10 seconds. We're drilling it. We're being held at 10 seconds. And then, then we're being held at 9 seconds, 8 seconds. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to, I think what Mike's really wants is us to be out there till 3 to go and then smoke us. So at a certain point, I just sat up and went back to the group because I knew I had enough time to just chill for a bit and still be good for a sprint. But I wasn't going to let myself sit out there all day when we're just being held at 10 seconds and not making any progress.
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, ideally we catch you at 3 laps to go and then really start the lead out in earnest, start to shed guys and just make it screaming fast for the end.
Yeah.
But you did come back earlier than expected, and actually that's probably a good place to just pick up the action. Let's talk through the last 10 or so laps of this race.
Yep.
All right, we're 8 kilometers to go. And I have found the end of my train. And I think at this point you're brought back, right, Tobin?
I'm back, and I am chilling. I'm looking at your rear view camera, and I don't think I see myself, but maybe
you're around.
Hard to say.
I think at this point you're
around.
brought back.
I agree.
I think it's all together. There
might
have been a couple.
I'm up in front now. I might have just got brought back.
Oh, okay, perfect timing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I see you up there. Yep. So it's all together. And let's talk about my position here because it sucks. And I'm just in the washing machine. This will be the theme here for a bit because my role here in the lead out. I'm the last rider, but it's not always as it seems. The last rider in these crits can sometimes, if it's really fast, can be an armchair ride. But
it can be easy. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like you're in the position. The last rider in the lead out is generally the sprinter. But not always. You can have a sweeper. This is Legion executes this strategy a lot. We do on Mike's bikes in these local races quite a bit. So I was last position. Sean was in front of me. Sean was really the premier sprinter. We know his form's good. He's had proven wins this year. And then Ryan is in front of Sean. And then in front of the 3 of us is the remaining Mike's bikes riders who have been chasing you around all day, Tobin, and are continuing to rotate to make sure that we stay at the front here with 8 laps to go, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you recognize like our organization and like what we're doing here in the final couple laps, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I know exactly what's going on. From knowing, I know everyone on your team. I know what everyone's strengths and weaknesses are. Yeah, I mean, I'm personally at this point in the race, I was really hoping to see more speed from the lead out, to be
Yeah,
totally
yeah,
honest.
you and me both.
I don't want to bash the team, but I was like, man, with nine riders, I mean, how many laps to go are we at right now? Probably seven.
Seven-ish, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I'm like, you guys should be killing two of your guys per lap almost, right? Just nuking it, which makes it less stressful for Sean, you, and Ryan. Because like we're seeing right now in front of us, that's four wide going into a corner. Like if there's a bit more speed, these guys wouldn't be able to come up the sides, or they'd be a lot less. They'd be more discouraged. But the speed wasn't quite there, and there's also that hill in it, so it always is going to bunch up a bit on that hill, even if the front guy's doing 500 watts. So it is a tricky course to hit a really banger lead out on, because it's got some bumps, it's got an uphill, it's got some heavy braking, it's got some train tracks. No one's talked about that yet. So coming into this left turn up here, this left-right chicane, we are actually crossing train tracks. It's not as sketchy as it sounds, but it's not sketchy. There's some bumps, so it's
Yeah,
hard to really pin it.
The pavement's quite bad on this course. That is
Yeah.
something we failed to mention,
So
particularly right here on the train tracks, like you said, and then even worse at the bottom of the hill, coming into the
Yeah.
final couple of right-handers, really bumpy. This section of the course right here, we make this right, and then you can see this slow and steady kind of slog up this climb. It's nothing that big of a deal, but you feel it each lap. Especially if you're a
And
bigger rider, you can really feel the
yeah,
incline right here. I don't know if it gets to
and
5% or something.
and this bunch up we're seeing right here, right into that corner, is like this is where there's a lot of bunching and shuffling. And at least I'm not sure how the back of your guys felt, but for me it was like you almost had to ride up next to the train.
Yep.
Which you don't want to do. The train doesn't want you there, but you almost have to do that so you can fade back. Like there I am on the left, you can fade back and be in front of everyone that you want to be in front of.
I had to make that pass on the
then,
right,
yeah.
going down the hill, which is not what you want to do at high speed, cutting through that wind. That sucks. But I want to get back on the
No.
train. And this is, again, my role as sweeper. Sweeper's that last position. And like we were talking about, sometimes it's an armchair ride when the pace isn't very fast, like Tobin was saying. It's not. It's my role now is to keep Ryan and Sean protected. Right now, Ryan's in front of me, Sean's in front of Ryan. We're going to change that order when push comes to shove here in the last couple laps. But it's my job to keep guys like Tobin off the train and to run interference on all of the chaos, the washing machine that's happening behind the lead out. Because at this point in the race, 4 laps to go, nobody is going to challenge us until like the last lap. Like people are content. Okay, Mike's bike still has like 8 riders at this point, and let me actually briefly talk too about the reason it wasn't super fast. Of course, being in the sweeper, I wanted it to be fast, so I didn't have to go shoulder to shoulder with you right here. This is Tobin on my left, by the way, guys.
But I knew that was you. I didn't want. Yeah.
But what we didn't want, the worst thing you can do when you're leading things out, is get the timing wrong. Particularly going too hard too soon, because then your sprinters are exposed, and that's how you lose. We wanted to make sure we at least had 3 riders to burn on the final lap, because we wanted to make it just white hot on the last lap. Sucks for me as the sweeper, but I think it's a good overall strategy with guys like Sean, with guys like Ryan, who can just go so hard for the whole final lap, and that would guarantee Sean a clean look at the finish. But man, it sucks for me being back here. I was feeling so good the first half, even 3/4 of this race while we were chasing you, while I was sitting in. My heart rate got down to like the 130s, which on this course, guys, is like, I was thinking, man, like I'm going to be so good for the finish because I have saved so much energy throughout this race. But then in this moment that we're looking at right here, heart rate's now in the 160s, and I haven't even really started my work yet in the final couple laps.
Dude, there's a saddlebag. Look at that.
I know he had it on the whole race, and I think he must have just forgotten about it, right?
Crazy.
That's Jeff. He was fighting for the end of the train too. It was you, it was Jeff, and what was the guy's name in the all black kit?
That's Cole. Oh, all black. The gray and black was Cole Williams.
Cole Williams, yeah, he was really fighting for the end of the lead out too. So those are the.
Cole's he's a big rider. He's got some power.
Oh yeah. Is this
and I think he's on your right.
Yep. We're gonna see a lot more of him. We're gonna see a lot more of Tobin in the. You're up there a few wheels ahead of me. You're kind of surfing the train a little bit here too. We weren't particularly tight, were we? We were a little bit sloppy. I think part of it's the course is kind of difficult and dynamic, and
You
also
weren't. Yeah, you guys weren't
you're a
bad.
big guy, and you know how to handle your bike pretty well.
Yeah, and this course, like I guess I failed to say, it's not a flat course, so there's a lot of speed and effort changes out on this course. Also, kind of knowing everyone on your team, I think that when you know someone's going to handle themselves through a corner fine, it's like you don't mind letting them there for a second. And like you and I think we talked about maybe off the camera, there's a bit of like mutual respect. Like I know I'm going to leave Ryan space. I'm not going to pinch Ryan. I'm not going to pinch you. I'm not going to pull some like Southern California crit stuff because we are all friends, but we're all also really competitive. So I think we give each other enough space to do this safely because no one wants to crash at this race. It's not worth it. There's not a lot of money. It's not going to make your season if you win it, but you know, could end it if you do something stupid. So I think I like to think we all give each other that space. Yeah.
Yeah, you're totally right. And coming up the inside on Cole right there, he did the same to me the second to last corner. I did the same to him on the last corner. And now you can see he's kind of touching my hip. And that's about the most aggressive I'll get because to your point, like we're all going to go out and have beers after this. And this isn't national championships, right? So like it's not that big of a deal. But I also want to make sure that I'm going to contribute to what we're trying to do as a team. Like part of the pressure, one thing I didn't mention, when you bring out 9 riders, you better win. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
If you show up with 9 riders and the second biggest team has like 4 or something or 5 or whatever it was, it's probably Volet, the rider behind me. So I think it was probably the second biggest team. Like, you better win. You're making a statement when you show up with 9. So I wanted to make sure that I was executing my role as sweeper, and still, like I said, at this point, I also had ambitions to get a result for myself because any bodies between your sprinter and the rest of the field is just more distance that other sprinters like yourself, Tobin, have to close down in the final kilometer, even final few hundred meters of a race.
Totally.
So the longer you can stay there as a sweeper, the better. The sweeper's a pretty dynamic role. You don't see it talked about too often. You don't see it executed properly too often, but you can see I'm not doing a great job here because there's 3 riders in front of me who are not teammates. So I'm going to do some work here to try to get in front of all that because we're coming into 1 to go. This is it, dude. You're right behind. Yep. You're where I should be right now. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good because I see who's in front of me. I know what the plan is. I'm not part of the team, but I see the 2 sprinters. I see your best 2 finishers, and I'm like, this is where I need to be.
And we're battling right now, dude. We made some good contact right there, and I'm just eating wind because you're a big guy, and like it's not your first rodeo. You're not just gonna let me in. And
totally. And I did right there because you had the inside line, and this was probably how I lost the race, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I fought for that inside line. I tell Sean I'm on, and then this is when Gavin takes over, and I say I'm on, and then I'm like, oh my god, like we're going so fast up this climb.
Right here. So this is where I'm on your wheel, and you can see the acceleration that's happening. You're not quite there. Now you are, and then this is where it seems like you got gapped off, and I'm behind you, and I'm just like, I cannot believe this is happening to me. Look at that gap.
Like a 3 or 4 bike length gap. Okay, I wish I could sit here and say that I had a mechanical, I dropped my chain, I had a flat tire. It's none of those things, you guys. I was tired. Like, I wanted to stay on there, but I peeked back. Look at this field. It is destroyed. Like, the amount of work that Gavin, and then especially Ryan did in the last lap of this race, absolutely destroyed this field. You had, what, 3 or 4 bike lengths to close down, and how'd it work out for you, Tobin?
So Ryan launches with Sean on the wheel, and you probably were just dying 1,000 deaths, and then I had a 4 or 5 bike length gap to close, and I knew that if I shut that gap on that final stretch, I wouldn't be able to actually sprint. So I was trying to like get there as efficiently as possible, but
when Ryan's doing 850 watts, there's just no efficient way to close that down. And I was pleasantly surprised because you're right. I was seeing cross-eyed. And when I looked back, I was like, oh, I'm just going to pull off. And that and that is going to screw everybody behind me. So there was a nice little silver lining to me getting dropped there. And that's how it finished. Those 3-4 bike lengths that I left you with remained at the finish. Teammates Sean and Ryan went 1-2. They went absolute beast mode. I think they were I think they won the Strava KOM for a course at the SF Giro. technically they didn't, but if you look at the leaderboard, it's like people in cars and stuff like that, and like without proper data. So anyway, that's how the race went. Tobin, sorry we beat up on you, 9 versus 1. What can you say, man?
That's what I'm here for.
Great having you on,
Punching
buddy.
bag.
That was a blast. Good luck tomorrow, huh?
Sweet, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Later.